Shalom, everyone. A deep, abiding blessing to join in your company and see you all this night, to be with you in the Spirit. Very grateful. Praise the One. Let us take a moment to set down everything we are doing and abide here in one place, remembering the power and the truth that abides within you, the breath of life that breathes you. And letting yourself relax into this breath, letting go of thoughts of the day, thoughts of the future, giving the moment a space, a spaciousness in your heart, and expanding into this space. With every breath, expanding deeper into a more and more vast spaciousness, one you can't even imagine, but that you know deep in your heart. Imagine all of reality and beyond, God as God is, encompassing and embracing you, as though you are enwrapped in the great mantle of the One of Messiah. All of reality, all displays, and beyond, enwrapping you and moving within and through you. You as all as you. And allow this meditation to expand as we invoke, calling upon the name of the One. Kala Mashiach, Yeshua Mashiach, Kala Mashiach, Yeshua Mashiach, Kala Mashiach, Yeshua Mashiach, Kala Mashiach, Yahweh Yona, 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 Ima ba 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 Yahweh Elelion 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 Elohim Elion, Elohim, Elihon, Elohim. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What a night. And this embrace. We hold heart prayers this night for the endless arising of truth and liberation in the hearts of human beings and all living beings within and throughout all of your creation. We pray many may come to desire and passionately cleave to your inmost secret mysteries, and therefore seeking grace and coming to grace, coming to the sanctuary of Mashiach, true salvation. May the light of the true cross be an extension in all directionality, and liberation arise in the spaciousness of the heart. Amen and amen. So we have these 3 sections that extend our contemplation on Elijah, actually bringing into culmination this swirl we've been looking into. Now, we are first talking about this mystery of the mantle of Elisha. And most curious, we hear of this mantle beginning with the moment that Elijah comes down off of Mount Horeb after receiving this deep influx, secret, inmost revelation. And here he comes walking up to Elisha, out there plowing in the field. And as the story goes, he walks right up and tosses his mantle right over Elisha. And Elisha's response at first is, oh, let me go, take care of family, say goodbye to everyone. He obviously knows this is a really deep call. Life is not going to return as I knew it. My life has just changed because there's this call to follow this inmost holy Zadik. Elijah puts it right back to him, basically saying, what have I done to you? He's not telling him, you must leave your family and follow me. You must do this and that. He puts it right back. What have I done to you? It's kind of a question. What have I done to you? It's also an answer, in a sense. Peculiar moment. And he recognizes, oh, right, well, I'm going to go and sell all of the oxen. And you can imagine, quite a lot of wealth in that time. That's probably his whole inheritance, these oxen. So he goes, sells them, and gives forth this really vast offering. Feeds, you can imagine, the whole town, all of the people, as this offering, turns and goes. So here's this mantle. And we know later in the story, when Elijah is being led to this place, to the Jordan, where this rapture will happen and him being taken up in a whirlwind, that this mantle is used to split the waters of the Jordan, to walk across on dry land. And it's also the mantle with which Elisha takes up after Elijah's taken up in this whirlwind. Elisha splits the waters, taking full force upon himself, receiving this mantle. So here we're told Yohanan has this mantle, in a sense, in his prayer shawl. And through it, offerings are empowerments, blessings transpire, sometimes with a mere touch, sometimes tossing over. And in this writing, there begins to be a hint of the mantle of the bride, Mantle of Messiah. See, in our lineage, there are two forms of blessing, empowerments that can transpire through a mantle. Mantle of Elijah, mantle of the Holy Bride. Here, a hint at the bride when talked about this mantle of Messiah that is given to the Magdala, that she takes up generation after generation. You can imagine, according to her vow, to incarnate in every generation, carrying this mantle. Now, anyone who's received this empowerment can speak to you. It contains within it is a very vast empowerment. It's almost as if what happens within that mantle such that we see with the Elisha, one's entire worldview has been reordered, remanifest, almost like one's entire being remade. Elisha is proof of that. It is a deep call, a deep witnessing. Essentially, light transmission as we speak of it through this mantle. So what a mystery there. Now, our second portion leading into this mystery of sacrifice, and of course is brought up the connection between Yohanan, his death by being beheaded, and his work to behead the priest of Baal. Somehow karma plays out there. That's a mystery in and of itself. Because here's this soul where we learned a couple sections back, this is the soul of Elijah. At the same time, if one were to directly ask this, no, he's not. And yet, the soul of Elijah beheads some 450 or so priests of Baal. And ironically, that's how Yohanan dies, being beheaded. So a certain teaching here of karmic continuum, even amidst Zadaki. It's actually beautiful. We want to ground that teaching. And also here, this idea of the self-sacrifice that Zadakim are taking up, going into Yeshua. Obviously so. Him, a sacrifice for the sake of salvation. Yohanan for the sake of redemption. All must be redeemed in order to come into salvation. So back to that theme we've been really circling of Yohanan as the opener of the way. And we got into that deep last week and how this opener of the way is a call in Zadakim that goes even beyond this world system. Our section got very vast there. Now, last and probably most subtle and sublime, this magical section circling a mystery of the Lamed Vow Zadakim. Those Zadakim who operate in complete secret, sometimes even hidden from themselves. And in this story, a peculiar way of sharing it, Yohanan encountering this man who kind of rants and mumbles and seemingly talking to demons, and to the point where his disciples think, oh, something's not right with this one. He needs to be exorcised and driven away. And And we've heard so many stories of the demon-possessed person that comes around the circle of Yohanan and the exorcisms that happen. You can imagine the disciples thinking, well, here's one of these. This one isn't. How subtle. In fact, he kind of rebukes his disciple who says that one, has a problem, needs to go away, that demon in that one needs to be exorcised. He reminds, let him be. Later, going out to speak with him, and eventually this one leaving, and it being told this one is operating in secret, taking the sins of all upon himself, taking the suffering, the persecution, torment upon himself. Literally, to the point where it would be extremely rare one could live in such torment. And yet, the moment of death, all of this being liberated and set free. Sometimes, as I have heard, Holy Zadokим won't even know these exist until at the moment of death and the liberation and the light that would be released and come to notice in them. So most peculiar. And he circles back into his disciples saying, the one asking for forgiveness that he had judged. And Yohanan reminding, don't judge from the outside. Whatever you're witnessing, you gotta be there from the inside. And like I say, that would be a hard one. Truly. Because these have been so used to seeing so many demons and such around, and this power that Yohanan carries to exercise, and here not the case. So kind of a warning to be really careful, not judging. Very careful. And to take things inward. Be with them. Pray about them. Don't be so quick to assume who's who and what's what. Like was said, these are operating in such a profound mode of secrecy. Often they don't even know themselves. In fact, probably most of the time that's the case. Boy, does that open your heart to what beings and souls are doing here and all of these works in Mashiach. And that it's never going to look one way by any means. In fact, extremely vast. So there's a few thoughts there. Would like at this point to open up to discussion, to feel, hear, explore what you heard in these sections and what's stirring you here. And what more mystery can we draw out?
It just popped into my mind that there's an old Buddhist teaching that anyone you meet may be the Buddha.
Yes, brother. Thank you. That speaks it well. We don't know, right? Except for inward. And even then, it might be in retrospect. I'm sure many of you have heard Tell Malachi's story of meeting a holy Lama Devao Zadik. It was in a hospice situation. And he will share a story of meeting this woman, Linda, who nobody could stand to be around her in the hospice house. I mean, nobody. Very mean. But interesting, extremely kind to Malachi. And at one point, while she's ranting and raving and cussing a whole bunch of people out and walking down a hall and foul language and all, she sees Malachi walking towards her and they meet. And she walks up to him and asks him if he knows how to do po wa, way of transference of consciousness, with a very sweet smile and sweet countenance about her. And he's kind of surprised, you can imagine, at that time as a volunteer chaplain and at the house. And why, yes. And she says, will you do that for me when I die? Well, yes. Anybody asks that, I mean, that would be the answer. And then turns right around, cussing people out, yelling, ranting and raving and going on. So time goes by and the time comes for her death, and he's actually not at the house at the time, and mentoring with a companion, and word of the Lord comes to him of, she's dying. It's time to go now. So he does. Walks in and come to find out, as she was dying, there was no need for a transference of consciousness, because the light in the room and the vibrance and the expanse of her soul being liberated was so luminous that even a nurse in the house saw the light and had to start coming around circle and tell Malachi for a while to explain what she had seen. And so, and Tao will say there had never been any experience such like that, entering into a transference of consciousness and a soul just so uplifted in light. And apparently having lived as a nasty, mean heroin addict, no family, her entire family hated her, never came around, but was in this movement of liberating souls, taking karma upon herself. And so you can kind of get a sense of how the story of this man came to be based on Tao's sharing a little something of this story here. Most definitely. You never know. Like you said, you never know. You might be meeting Buddha, Yeshua. He says it, the one in prison, the one thirsty, hungry at your door.
What fascinated me in this conversation was the intriguing play of Talit, because Talit reminds me of the koam, or this holy place that one can set up with the transmission between disciple and Sadiq. It's this enveloping, can be like holy ground. So a question just came into heart. Is this Talit like an extension of Sadiq, or the one giving blessings, body of light? And, because we talk about these three aspects of body of light: truth body, glory body, and emanation body. And I was just feeling of how being enveloped by Talit can be that experience. So just a couple of thoughts there.
So Talit, to share with folks, it would be a prayer shawl, in a sense, a traditional Jewish prayer shawl. And here, just called prayer shawl, mantle. We will sometimes take up a traditional shawl. How that empowerment could happen doesn't always have to be an actual talit either. Could be a shawl that one wears often. And in this way, yes, very much. Think of the woman, the hemorrhaging woman in the gospel, touching the cloak of Yeshua and being instantly healed. What was she touching? And then even it says, well, she figures if she could just but touch his cloak, this might happen. So she's moving with a lot of faith. Yes, him walking, in fact, at that moment, he's walking in this really fast action of healing. Already, she's kind of jumping aboard this movement of this other, woman or person coming to ask about healing their daughter who's dying. She's very timely in that movement. And so, extension of body of light, yes. Now, you're bringing up a good insight in a way to express further these empowerments of mantle as they play out in our teachings and lineage. So, mantle of Elijah would often be a holy Zadik taking their mantle and tossing it over the initiate or one seeking, so that they are under that mantle on their own by themselves, kind of like Elijah to Elisha. It's its own intimate exchange there under the mantle. Mantle of the bride, different in that one will walk up, there will be this exchange, mantle over both. Zadik, initiate, and this vast exchange under mantle as one. Very different. And I would say Elijah's mantle of Elijah has much to do with prophetic empowerment, empowering prophecy, empowering a deeper wisdom, internal within oneself. Mantle of the bride has this empowerment that comes by way of that deep intimacy, because often when that's occurring, when under the mantle, Holy Zadik will say, will mention, hey, catch my gaze. And there'll be this vast exchange together. So a bit different in that way. And to your point, anything that Holy Zadokim take up here is an extension of body of light. Be it in different ways. Holy staff. Look at this mantle that's used to split the Jordan. Funny. In another place in scripture, Moses is splitting the Red Sea. Staff is being used in a different way. So you have this message of things used to extend these empowerments, and also a physical talisman that can be taken up and used. Consider, you brought up Holy Talit. Imagine one who adorns themselves, because there is an entire an entire covenant, focus, prayer that one will take up when putting on Holy Talit. If one does that year after year, decade after decade, and they wear and they're with Talit in these very holy and sacred ways, yeah, theirs can be some power. So also a message of how body of light gets extended. Indeed. And yeah, within, there's these manifestations of body of light, from truth to glory to manifestation. Aren't we talking about in mantle itself these layers? Because what's going to get imparted has these deep layers going all the way to truth, where in mantle of the bride, there's no longer two people under that mantle. Mantle of Elijah, one probably disappears even there still. Such that Elisha, that's pretty radical to come up from under that mantle and start talking about needing to go kiss his family goodbye. I mean, just think about that for a moment. That's pretty radical. Like, everything for him just got completely turned inside out and upside down. And not in a bad way, but in a good way. But there's no going back for him. talk about mantle. He disappears. Elisha, as he was, is no longer coming up out of that, from that mantle. No longer. And that same power is what splits the water of the Jordan in 2 different occasions in that whole swirl there. So, pretty radical, actually.
I see a deep movement in this from what Sadiq was talking about a couple of weeks ago with those true elements or true colors, and also last Sunday where he was talking about how when we want to cultivate loving and kindness and compassion into a life, we almost like we first have to fake it to make it. That's not how he put it, like, but we have to like take it from external source and how it's supposed to look, and then more and more it becomes something inward, something real, and we more and more get connected with that truth that is a truth, was a truth, is a truth, and will be a truth, that the Holy One exists in everything living. And then at some point, and that's like when we mirror it on a deeper and deeper level, and then at some point, like we talked about before, then that mirror kind of disappears, so it becomes that manifestation of those true colors, and that, as I see it, is also connected with how they describe that self-sacrifice, because there is no separate self, meaning there is no mirror, there only is that reality, and it's not something we show for ourselves, it's something we show for all to see in themselves. So I really see that connection with what Sadiq been talking about, also with the Holy Mother and Child, and then this with the Sadiq that shows that in people and help rid them from those things, but also that self-sacrifice, that there is no mirror.
I just wanted to add, because you were talking about that I was thinking about the beheading of John, and how ironic it is that in the past he did that. But if you think about the words of Joshua, to love your neighbor as yourself, in reality, anything we do to others, we're really doing to ourselves in one life or another, in one way or the other, because it comes around full circle, the beginning and the end, which exist but don't. I just wanted to add that in.
Indeed, well, first, Lars, your fake it till you make it. I really like this. Because this is so true in our coming into being and in the journey. Sister Catherine brought up that idea of a holy talit that one takes up as their prayer shawl and works with, is very consistent with, and holds the whole prayer while adorning oneself with the talit, and it becomes this thing. It becomes a continuum for one. In time, at first it's kind of like, what does the prayer look like? How do I say it? How does it sound? What does it consist of? And you have all of these ideas. And that is good. We need that. That's the way of transformation. We do. Because how else are we going to come to regard something and regard the holiness in the continuum of it? How else are we going to come to recognize that something can be consecrated, made holy, made sacred, so that when one's putting on this prayer shawl, they're being enwrapped in the mantle of the Holy Mother, like the mantle you see and Our Lady of Guadalupe, whose mantle, ironically, is the starry night sky. Okay, so, but how are you going to come to that consciousness? Unless there's kind of attending to that continuum. And there is a faking it till you make it. And then I can tell you, and others I know in this room can testify to, eventually what's going to happen is all of a sudden one day the Holy Spirit's going to zap you in the midst of it. And you're no longer going to be putting on this thing that you've just thought of as a piece of cloth that you bought, at the Jewish prayer store. No, it's going to be something really different. And the Spirit's going to show you, you've been thinking it's this. It is not. Take a look at my mantle. Like to the starry night sky of Guadalupe's robe kind of insight. And it's going to change. And your insight to that's going to change. And you're going to walk away like Elisha of, there's no going back now. Let me kiss my family goodbye. Just saying, there's going to be a change. Fake it till you make it. Yes. Gotta be. Secret Gospel of James says something to the same effect of you've got to acquire grace for yourself. And that can be kind of a stunning verse at first because it's like, well, what do you mean? Grace just comes from above and it's just given in the Spirit. No. Where? One's got to have tended something of that continuum. One's got to have faith in grace. How do you have faith in grace? Well, you tend that continuum of transformation. Passionately, cleaving. But grace comes all right, just like the woman who had the faith enough to know that if she touched the cloak of Yeshua, her hemorrhaging for years would be healed. So, and then, I love that you brought this up, the beheading piece. One, because that is a radical wonder working. That what's going on there is it has numerous angles, actually. Because yes, of course, we talked about the part of, he will die by being beheaded because Elijah beheaded in his passion, cleaving to Yahweh. When he takes up that little contest with the priest of Baal, and it doesn't go so well for them, a little bit of ego got involved. That's for sure. You can tell. Got a little bit out there with his power and wonder-working art, and that's pretty extensive, actually, to go to that. That's a lot of beings, living beings. And so, yeah, that soul, there's gonna be a karmic repercussion at some point. And so that's where the story goes. And well, how did Yohanan get beheaded there? But also, did you notice here how Malachi also brought up that all of this drama happening over there in Herod's court with the, dancing of the stepdaughter and Herodias and all of that motion is doing something else? Distracting the archons from the mission happening over there with Yeshua? That was brought up here. I mean, all of this happening, the rulers weren't noticing that within and behind. Here's Yeshua coming close into this radical manifestation of salvation through the crucifixion that transpires all the while. That's in the works. And so all this flash and drama here with Yohanan is taking away the attention of the rulers, the demiurge, the archons, so that they're not seeing what's happening. Interesting that. So that's part of it.
It actually had made me think of, I think it's called Yom Kippur, where when the Jews are making their sacrifice, they actually have another goat there as a distraction for the archons, if you want. I'll put all kinds of names there, but for the other side, so that it doesn't interrupt with their ceremonies and celebrations. And I kind of seen those like going hand in hand because they've been doing that for a very long time. And then the Messiah comes and it's almost like a reenactment through humans, if you want, through the body.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yom Kippur. Yes. That is here. Oh, indeed. Isn't that a message of redemption, of how something does need to be distracted? Think of in our own selves. Our coming into being. Doesn't Yeshua says, do not let the left hand know what the right hand is doing? Some things need to be in secret. Because if other parts of ourselves knew about it, that won't fare very well. And the ego isn't very fond of some of the things that the Holy Soul might be up to. So the Holy Soul acts in secret. And then there might be these little distractions here and there that all the while, within and behind, the Holy Soul's coming into being, and the ego is tricked. Yes. There's a profound truth in that. Very needed.
What?
Go ahead, brother.
Oh, thank you, Martha. I owe you one. What struck me was the issue of self-sacrifice amongst Yohanan, and of course Yeshua, and the Zadokim. So it kind of took me to what Jesus said about denying yourself, taking up your cross, and following him. And I was thinking of the cross, and I've recently seen, I think it's from the Zohar, the tetragrammaton put in the form of a cross with the yod on top of the vowel and the two hays on the side, forming a sword tetragrammaton. And I see that, and I saw it as putting death to yourself and allowing the crown, the yod, to lead you. And of course, in that particular case, since since the Yod Hey Vav Hey is all inclusive, this is going to include taking on the suffering within the creation, within the Vav Hey, and it's just all of that was kind of coming together, and so it's a true taking on of the name. It's like a trademark of the name is the cross, and I just saw that in a different way.
Well said, brother. That's a beautiful meditation. The fullness of the great name. Literally, this shows up in scripture where there's that conversation of the name to which every knee bows. Yeshua. And we know that's the tetragrammaton with a shin inserted. And I bring that up to say something of the fullness of that name. And I like your mention of a sword, brings a flash, in a sense, of purification, of complete unity, coming back to, we need to remember that name, and I feel you're drawing this out, extends through the entirety of the Olamot. And so you've got absolute, Yod, Hey, Bariah, Vow, Yetzirah, Hey, Asiya. And so you're also talking about, in a sense, this flash of emanation, purity. We've been kind of going into this a bit lately. Virginity, in the sense of the virgin mother. No taint, no trace, pure from the very beginning. And so that is the sacrifice. And you get a sense that that really comes forth. That's what I enjoyed about this portion on self-sacrifice. And immediately following that portion, this talk about these holy Zadokim in secret. Because in secret, the Lamed Vow Zadokim are literally working from that same mystery. And one disappears completely in that flash from the very beginning. And I say that because we can sometimes think of it in a static, solid manifestation, but to bring it home to a sword, I mean, who is the one in Revelations, pronouncing the entire revelation? Hua, with a sword, flashing this way and that as the tongue. Who guards the garden of Gan Eden but the cherub with a sword of flashing fire turning this way and that? If one could dare look upon that sword, and not to this way or that, but in the center way, they might disappear in a sense. Entering that garden. And Revelations is all happening through this. So New Jerusalem arising through this. I will plant that seed for your contemplation, because that's a beautiful angle to run with here. Indeed.
Well, Sarah, I'd love to go back to what Brother Lars said and maybe tell just a little story that some brothers and sisters might appreciate. It's a story I share with a lot of my coaching clients who tell me I need to fake it till I make it. And I've never, ever been comfortable with fake it till you make it because it feels fake to me. It doesn't feel authentic. And one time in Facebook, I saw a picture of a placard, one of those white placards where people take the little black letters and change the letters around. And on the placard, it said, "Don't fake it till you make it." And I went, "Oh, that's wonderful. Phew, I don't have to fake it till I make it anymore." It said, "Face it until you make it." And I'm sharing this because I have thought of this often on this path. I don't want to feel like I'm faking it till I make it. But what I can do and what I put my mind to is to face it until I make it. So I just offer that as a slight reframe from faking it to facing it that some brothers and sisters might appreciate.
Hearing that, sister, indeed, I think, that whole story of the fake it till you make it, which I just want to circle back a little to circle into what you're sharing, reminds of, I can't remember what they call it. I bet you Brother Christopher can share. Is that the Tukey, the reincarnate masters that are chosen to be the next leader? Christopher,
The Toku?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Toku. Yes. Okay, so I don't know much about these except for that there's an inspiring story that, anytime in Buddhist tradition, when a lama dies and moves on, it will be considered that there's a successor, reincarnate, and they'll go set out to find this one as a young person. And that young person that they find and say, "You are the reincarnation of so-and-so, and you are to come into power as so-and-so," kind of thing. From a very young age, they say this. That person may or may not be that reincarnation, right? But if they're told that from a very young age, they're going to either fake it or face it, right? And come into being as that they've been told they are, because that's what they've been told they are. And yeah, maybe they are in their soul, but they still have to come into being as that. And so I hear both. Face it, meaning stand up and take up the work, do it. As much as I hear fake it, and I hear where there can be a little cringe with the fake it because it can kind of sound false and fake. However, I know in my experience, I've had to feel like a complete idiot and fool putting myself out there sometimes when it doesn't quite feel like it's real. And there's been many times, what am I doing? I'm so fake, right? And I hear you. There has to be a little transition there to face it And I also hear fake in the sense of talk the talk, walk the walk, and at some point it might just start resonating and you just kind of take it up. There is that too. So I hear both angles, and I like where you're going with it as well, just as much, because it is a facing too. Like that Toku is going to have to at some point go, oh, they've told me I'm this my whole life. I'm nothing else except for this. I have to face this and be this. Yes. I suppose it's how we process. Some of us might be really good actors here. It might work well to fake. Some of us need to face things head on, or just make it happen. I suppose there's that as well. So I'm enjoying both. Indeed.
Funny, I remember when I was young, my grandpa always told me I had to do things hard way. I had to make things very difficult when I did things. What you're speaking to reminds me of that. But this reading, I greatly appreciated the connection between the different layers of Zadik that are portrayed through all these stories. And you have Elisha plowing the field. You have the play of the beheading in both lives with Elijah and Yohanan, and this man who appears to be mad but is actually Zadik, and it drives home that it's not separate at all. This Zadik and how Zadik walks in the world, this spectrum is all encompassing. I appreciate that.
Indeed, brother. And I like your mention of going at things in the hard way. Your grandpa sharing. I resonate with that too. Very much so, actually. That speaks a lot to me. A spectrum of Zadakim. Isn't this liberating? And haven't we been in the last few weeks really exploring the liberative quality of these manifestations of Zadakim, all the way here to the Lamed vow, which I deeply appreciate being brought up, because we can't, it's like Brother Ralph said earlier, you never know when you're going to meet the Buddha. And so too in any of our lives. And here, brother, and probably, oh yeah, we're getting late. Want to conclude with this thought. And it trails exactly off something you're bringing up, brother. There is a most wild teaching that will be shared in our lineage. And it has always flabbergasted me, and I have said this many, many, many times. It's a teaching that shows up in one of Tal Malakai's original books, The Gnosis of the Cosmic Christ, and it goes way back in teachings, where it will be said that all souls are destined to be Mashiach in some world system at some time. And that's really wild. You know, I have to say, I've heard that teaching for I don't know how many years, and I still have to circle back to it and wonder about it. And it's meant for many reasons. I think one, to expand your mind and recognize, we get really focused here, but what about the vastness of world systems? Also, too, Do we negate our soul and its power? What if there is this destiny to be Mashiach in some world system? And the reason I bring it up in what you said is the vast view of Zadokim and all of the gradations, and is here we're learning even those you can't even begin to define at all or put in any category, is also saying, what about us then? Any of us? Pretty vast, this manifestation. And if we have come in this life to meet Holy Zadik, well, probably we've come also to meet Holy Zadik within, as one's inmost holy soul, because that is that mirror-like quality of Zadik. So the myriad of manifestations, the endless arising of how Zadik might come to manifest. Why do we talk so much about taking up and walking in Partsuf practice and in the palace of the Partsuf, the holy persona? Probably to remember Holy Zadik in us. We want to bring this home. So there is that very much so in this. You'll want to remember that. Particularly as we're moving close to our celebration of the Holy Feast of Mother and Child. Who is this child? Being born of virgin light in utmost purity. I'd say Zadik. However that looks. And all the while, this is still talking about the need and importance of discipleship at the same time. Whew, what a swirl, this. And I think that's probably enough for a time. Lots of good seeds, beautiful insights and sharings. Thank you, everyone. It's been quite a marvelous exploration. Let us gather in prayer, holding in our hearts the energy generated here in this space go out to countless beings and souls. That many this night can turn and listen and hear some of what is spoken in their hearts and be moved, uplifted, brought into the sanctuary of grace, the sanctuary of Mashiach. Amen and amen.